Going to space is every child's dream, but the realization of a few. Succeeding requires developing the right habits, preparation, and staying the course. Our guest today is Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut, former commander of the International Space Station. You may also have seen his video recorded from space, David Bowie's Space Oddity.
And I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today.
The advice he presents in his book, An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth, can help young people better prepare their transition from school to work. Welcome to Talking Youth. Commander Hadfield, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Matthew. Nice to be with you.
When you were 9 years old, you decided that you wanted to become an astronaut. That is when you saw Neil Armstrong step foot on the moon, and you actually accomplished that. Now, in your life post-astronaut, you travel a lot, you meet a lot of young people, you go to many school speeches. First question is, what do young people tell you? What do they want?
Mathieu, I served as an astronaut for 21 years. And during that time, probably 2 or 3 weekends a month, I would go and speak at schools all around the world. So I've spoken in, I guess, thousands of schools over the last quarter century. And what children tell me hasn't changed over time. They are just as interested and fascinated by exploring the unknown as I ever was, or as anybody has ever been, as you were when you were a boy. And so it's really, I don't know if gratifying is the right word, but it's really re-energizing for me to talk with young people and see the world through their eyes.
Now, Chris, in your book, which is An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth, which is, by the way, a wonderful book full of advice for young people and for really everyone, you talk a lot about the importance, the utmost importance of preparation. In your view, all those young people that you meet, are they well prepared? Are we preparing them well enough for their careers, for their future education?
So the start of that, Mathieu, I think it's really important to give yourself a goal in life. Because let's say you want to, I don't know, you want to row across the Atlantic, or you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be a doctor, it doesn't matter. If you know that that is what you really want to be doing, then you can decide, hey, what should I do this weekend? Because I know where I'm trying to head with my life. And that is the whole essence of not just of preparation, but it's really your life itself. The things that you choose to do next actually define your whole life.
Are you prepared for your next stages of life?
Oh, always. People talk about retirement as if it's the end of life. You know, like, oh, I'm retiring, and therefore, like, now I don't need to work at life anymore, or I don't need to be interested in life, which to me is crazy. I mean, retirement means you're just stopping doing one thing and starting doing something else. And you don't have to be flying spaceships to feel good about what you're doing.
Now, in your book, again, you talk about something that I found very interesting, which is the necessity to always think of worst-case scenarios. And when I try, again, to transpose that to the life of young people trying to, do what they can to find the best job that they can or the best education that they can, it doesn't occur to me that we prepare them to the possibility of failure or the possibility of a worst case scenario.
Yes, I think it's really important. I mean, some people's preparation for failure is to cross their fingers or to hope or to visualize success. But to me, that's all, of course, it's just a waste of time because things always go wrong. That's how life is. And therefore, you should be always preparing for things to go wrong. And that's how I do everything in life. It's the only way that you can successfully fly a spaceship. You have to visualize failure. That doesn't mean you need to be pessimistic. In fact, I think it makes you optimistic. If you have a plan, then you're not just nervous and crossing your fingers. you're comfortable and calm because if things don't work the way they were supposed to, you've practiced in advance. You've visualized failure, thought about things going wrong, and developed the skills to deal with it.
You actually responded to an ad in a newspaper that said, I think it said, astronauts wanted.
When I got hired as an astronaut, there was no internet. It was in 1992. And so they actually just stuck advertisements in the newspapers that said, wanted astronauts, and you have to be a Canadian citizen and such. And so what would you do if you wanted to be one? And I thought, there's going to be a lot of people apply, and I need to make myself as complete an applicant as possible. So I took that stage really seriously. I recognized this was a one-shot deal, and so I prepared as complete and remarkable a resume as I could, and I printed it on expensive paper. And I decided this wasn't the time to be too super modest. This was a time to list everything I'd ever done, so that they would notice me, and hopefully I would get through to the next level and the next level. And fortunately, all the years of preparation, the universities I'd been to, the training, I'd become a fighter pilot and a test pilot and a scuba diver. And when I submitted all of that, they phoned me back, and eventually out of over 5,000 applicants, I was one of the 4 that got selected. When I chose to be an astronaut, it was impossible. Canada had no astronaut program when I chose to be one, but that didn't stop me pursuing things that were important to me. And I wouldn't have felt like a failure if I hadn't flown in space. All of the little things that I did in my life that were important to me are the victories that define my life. I was just lucky enough to also get to fly in space.
And Chris Hadfield, on this positive note, I'll thank you so much again for having joined us. I just have to say to end that really for an astronaut, an author, and a singer, you're so down to earth. And it's really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
So thank you again,
Matthew.
and see you next time.
Thank you.